You're watching E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. All right, so as I said yesterday, these videos today we're going to be discussing all the Godzilla news that's come around the last 48 hours. This particular video, we're going to talk about the early screening that took place. As of yesterday, 2 people came forward and gave a very vague, somewhat review in what they saw. There was an embargo, so they can't get into too many details. Of course, you do have to take it with a grain of salt. There are people out there who try to like to fool people or mess with people's minds. But considering how vague these people were, I'm sure there's a fair chance that they saw it, and we want to give them benefit of the doubt. And all we can do is just kind of go with, listen to what they have to say, and then make our own assessment, and then patiently wait until we get the opportunity to see the movie ourselves. So as many of you know, the movie was screened without any effects. There was a lot of stand-ins for the monsters. In fact, I don't even think they got to see the whole movie. I think they only got to see maybe an hour of it, and I don't even think they got to see the monsters. The 2 people who I read one on Reddit, and then I heard there was another one. But from what I gathered, both viewers pretty much took something away different from the movie. One of the major differences, I should say, that I gathered from reading both, or reading one and then hearing about the other, was the big difference was one person who saw the movie thought the acting and the characters were very good. The other person was actually the opposite. So I guess from that standpoint, you can go by perspective. The one that I read on Reddit, this person did express, though, that they felt very encouraged by what they did see, and felt very encouraged by the direction the movie was going and where they're taking the movie. So that's a good thing. The other person described the movie to be more along the lines of Kong Skull Island as opposed to the original G-14. So far, the response from these have been pretty positive. There's a lot of people who seem to be very happy that if what this person is saying is true, and if they did indeed see this early screening, a lot of people are happy that they're going more in the Kong Skull Island direction. So far, so good. If what we're reading is true, if these people did indeed see the movie, and if what they're saying is, from the character standpoint, that's something that I think is a personal thing. A lot of people liked Aaron Taylor Johnson in 2014. Many of you know I did not. I did not like Aaron Taylor Johnson. So it all depends on your perspective and your taste in terms of that kind of stuff. So, but it is encouraging to hear that for the most part, it seems like they're going in the right direction. Now, a lot of people are aware now that the early screening was probably, and I alluded to this in yesterday's videos, the early screening, more than likely this early in the game, is to try and probably assess people's reactions. Because if there was something that they saw in the movie that they did not like, or something that had a very, very negative reaction, or if people came out and said, well, this needs work, and, because I'm sure there were opinions, people wanted, the production team, I'm sure, wanted to know opinions of the viewers, because this was a very closed off thing. I'm sure the big concern is the feedback. They want the feedback. They want to know right now where they stand, and if they have to make changes, now is the time. Because as we all know, we've seen other movies run back to the studio to make changes right before the movie comes out, and you can notice those changes when the movie arrives. We saw this in a couple of DC movies, in particular Justice League, with some of their CGI and stuff like that. And I think the movie was filmed beyond 3 hours and was cut down to 2. So there were a lot of changes. Now, a lot of that had to do with the fact that they changed directors midway, which that's completely understandable. Fantastic Four was a disaster. They had the same issue. They had reshoots and stuff like that. So if you're going to do and it doesn't mean that reshoots are bad, but if you're going to have to do reshoots, you do want to do them early while you're in production, especially when it comes to special effects, because special effects, as I mentioned before, takes a long time to render. And if you've already got special effects implemented into your movie, only to have to go back, reshoot a scene, and then you have to re-implement the special effects again, it's a long, painful process. And if you're crunched for time, you might have to take some shortcuts that will be evident when your movie comes out. So I think this is a very smart move from the production team. I think it's very, very smart of them. It's also encouraging because it shows that they care, that they're taking their movie very seriously, and that they want to make as little mistakes as possible, and they want to satisfy the audience as much as they can. And when I say audience, let me remind you that I mean the general audience. That's going to be the most important figure for this movie. I know that, even 4 years later, a lot of people don't seem to accept that. G fans, a lot of hardcore G fans still can't seem to accept that concept. But that's just how it is. Whether you accept it or not, the general audience is going to move the movie forward. It's not going to be the hardcore fan base. If you cater to just the fan base, then you get a movie that's not going to satisfy a universal audience as opposed to just focusing on one part of the audience. There will be hardcore fans that love it. There will be hardcore fans that hate it. That's just how it's going to be. There's no changing that. So if that's something they can't change, it doesn't make sense for them to focus on the hardcore fans. If they know they're not going to satisfy all of them anyway, they might as well try to go for the general audience. It's a larger number of people. It generates more revenue, and it also steers the wheel as to whether or not we continue to get more movies. So as much as you might hate the idea of that, you could really thank the general fan base for us getting the sequel, because they're the ones who put the money in the pockets of Legendary and Warner Brothers, to make the sequel that we're getting next year. So I think it's a good thing. I'm glad they screened the movie. I'm glad that if these two people who reported about it did see it, they're not trying to troll people, and this is their reaction. I think it's pretty encouraging considering they watched an incomplete movie that does not have all the effects. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's good on Legendary, good on the production team that they did this, and hopefully they can take away whatever notes they did, make whatever necessary changes and improvements they can now. That way they can have a good post-production that runs smoothly. It sounds like they're organized. I'm very encouraged by it. I really am. I mean, we're a year away, but they're taking the right steps to make sure that this movie gets off the ground running with all the right elements that they feel they can possibly put in the movie to satisfy the audience. And of course, again, they're not going to satisfy everybody, but if they can get a good vibe, a good idea of how people might react to certain parts of the movie and make the necessary changes now to improve it, I can't criticize that. I think that's a brilliant move. And I wish a lot of other production companies did. I'm sure other production companies do, but when we consider what happened with DC and Fox with their movies, you kind of wish that they would have taken this seriously and they would have done the same thing. Maybe we would have gotten better movies, or at least have had movies with better CGI in the very end. So, but anyway, so that's it for this video. I mean, again, take away with it what you will. We still have to take into consideration that these could be trolls, but well, with that said, if they're not, and this is their reaction, I think overall it's just a good thing. Even if these guys are trolls, I think it's a good thing that they just even screened the movie. If we don't know the full details of what took place, that's fine. But the idea that the company took the time to do this so early in the game, I think is a very good thing, and I commend them for that. So, but anyway, guys, that's it for this video. We're going to, it's kind of late in the game today because I wanted these videos to come out earlier, but we did have a storm out here. The kids were home, so I had to wait till tonight to record these. So I got 2 more coming up for you, and then we'll go from there. All right, guys, that's it for this one. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. You can follow E.T.N on Facebook, Twitch or Twitter, or join the Nation Facebook page. Don't forget to click that subscribe button on your way out.